Well, hello there. Today I want to take you on a bit of a wild ride. One that honestly pushed me out of my comfort zone in ways I never expected. If you know me, you know I absolutely love my food. Cooking, eating, sharing meals with friends and family, it's a massive part of my life and who I am. So the idea of not eating for 3 whole days, I'll admit it sounded absolutely bonkers even to me. But sometimes the things that sound the craziest are the ones that teach us the most. I mean, imagine staring at a table full of delicious food and telling yourself, nope, not today. It's not just about resisting temptation, it's about challenging your habits, your routines, and even your beliefs about what your body needs. I've always been curious about what happens when you really test your limits, and this seemed like the ultimate test. Over the past year, I kept hearing more and more about fasting, not just as a quick fix for weight loss, but as something that could actually help your body repair itself, boost your mental clarity, and even support long-term health. I started reading articles, watching videos, and diving into the science behind it. The more I learned, the more fascinated I became. There's talk about autophagy, where your body starts cleaning out old cells and making way for new ones. Some people say they feel sharper, more focused, and even more energetic after a fast. It's not just about dropping a few pounds, it's about giving your body a reset. That curiosity just kept growing. I started wondering what would happen if I gave this a real go. Could I handle it both physically and mentally? I wanted to see what I was made of, to really push myself and learn something new about my own resilience. It wasn't about proving anything to anyone else, it was about exploring my own boundaries and seeing what I could discover along the way. So, after a lot of thought and research, I decided to commit to a 72-hour water fast. That's 3 days with nothing but water. No sneaky snacks, no cheeky coffees, just pure hydration and willpower. I set my timer, filled up my water bottles, and got ready for what I knew would be a serious challenge. Now, before I go any further, I need to be super clear. This was my personal journey, and fasting for this long isn't something to take lightly. It's not for everyone, and there are real risks if you don't do it safely. I spoke to my doctor first, and I'd strongly recommend you do the same if you're ever considering something like this. Your health always comes first. My goal here isn't to convince you to try a long fast or to say it's the magic answer for everyone. I just want to share my honest experience, the good bits, the tough moments, and everything in between. I want to give you a real, unfiltered look at what it's actually like so you can make up your own mind. I'll walk you through why I decided to do it, how I got myself ready, what each day actually felt like, and how I eventually broke the fast. I'll also share the little strategies I used to stay motivated and what surprised me most along the way. Preparation was key, setting up my kitchen, planning my days, and making sure I had everything I needed to stay safe and comfortable. Throughout the fast, I kept a detailed diary of my energy levels, my mood, and all the thoughts that popped into my head. I wanted to capture the ups and downs, the cravings, the moments of doubt, and the little victories. That way, I could give you a truly honest, behind-the-scenes look at what it's like to go through something like this. For me, this was about more than just not eating. It was about pushing my boundaries in a safe, controlled way and learning what I'm really capable of. It was a chance to reset, to reflect, and to see how my body and mind responded to a real challenge. So grab yourself a drink, maybe a nice herbal tea or just some water. Get comfy, and join me as I dive into the highs, the lows, and everything in between of my 3-day fast. Let's see what happens when you step outside your comfort zone and take on something truly different. My main motivation wasn't weight loss, it was about what happens inside. I'd read about autophagy, the body's way of cleaning out old cells during fasting. I wanted to give my body a reset and see if I could sharpen my mental focus. It was also a test of discipline. We eat for so many reasons besides hunger. I wanted to break those habits and reconnect with real hunger signals. People talk about mental clarity after a couple of days fasting, and as someone always juggling work and family, that sounded appealing. I was curious. Could I really feel more creative and productive just by not eating? As someone who spent years learning about nutrition, this was a new experiment for me. It was about exploring my own limits and learning something new about my body. I wanted to document the journey and see what lessons I could take away. You can't just jump into a 72-hour fast without some serious planning. It's not just about willpower or gritting your teeth through hunger. The real work starts days before you even skip your first meal. I learned quickly that preparation is the difference between a miserable experience and a manageable, even empowering one. If you try to start after a weekend of takeaways, processed snacks, and sugary drinks, you're setting yourself up for a rough ride. Your body will be craving all the wrong things, and the first day will feel like climbing a mountain in flip-flops. So I spent the entire week before my fast cleaning up my diet. I cut out refined carbs and sugar, swapped out bread and pasta for extra greens, and made sure every meal had healthy fats, protein, and plenty of fiber. Avocados, eggs, chicken, nuts, and leafy vegetables became my staples. This wasn't just about eating clean, it was about teaching my body to rely less on quick sugar hits and more on burning fat for fuel. This gradual shift helped my body ease into fat-burning mode and made the transition into fasting much smoother. It also reduced the risk of getting hit by the dreaded keto flu, that foggy, drained feeling that can happen when your body is low on carbs and electrolytes. Electrolytes were absolutely crucial. I picked up a good, unflavored electrolyte powder and made it a habit to add it to my water, aiming for a couple of glasses a day. This kept my energy steady and helped prevent headaches, muscle cramps, and that general sense of fatigue that can sneak up on you. Hydration was another key piece. I set reminders on my phone to drink water regularly, making sure I was never running on empty. It's easy to forget how much water your body needs, especially when you're not eating. I also made sure to talk to my family about what I was doing. Fasting can be a lonely journey if the people around you don't understand why you're skipping meals or acting a bit off. Their support made a huge difference, especially when I needed encouragement or just someone to distract me from the kitchen. I cleared my schedule of anything intense, no big meetings, no social events centered around food, and definitely no high-stress commitments. I wanted to give myself the best chance to succeed, and that meant making space for rest and self-care. Instead of my usual HIIT workouts, I opted for gentle walks and stretching. Movement was still important, but I didn't want to push my body too hard while it was adjusting to fasting. The goal was to focus on rest and repair, not to burn out or exhaust myself. I made sure to get plenty of sleep and even took time to relax with a good book or some music. The night before my fast, I sat down with my journal and wrote out my reasons for doing this. I visualized myself finishing strong, feeling proud and accomplished. That mental preparation was just as important as the physical prep. Mindset work anchored me when things got tough. Whenever I felt tempted to quit, I reminded myself of my why and practiced a few minutes of mindfulness or deep breathing. With my diet sorted, electrolytes ready, water bottle filled, and my mind focused, I felt genuinely prepared. Preparation wasn't just helpful, it was everything. Now, with everything in place, it was finally time to begin. The real challenge was about to start, but I knew I'd done everything I could to set myself up for success. Day one started off just like any other morning, except for one big difference: no breakfast. Instead, I reached for a tall glass of water, letting the cool liquid wake me up. At first, I felt surprisingly energetic, almost as if my body was running on anticipation and excitement for the challenge ahead. The sun was shining, and I felt a sense of purpose as I moved through my usual morning routine, determined to see how far I could push myself. As the morning wore on, my stomach started to remind me that it was used to a different schedule. By lunchtime, the real test began. Hunger pangs came in waves, each one a little stronger than the last. I found myself glancing at the clock, counting down the hours until dinner, except of course there would be no dinner. To cope, I sipped on water and allowed myself a cup of black coffee, which helped take the edge off. The ritual of holding a warm mug in my hands was comforting, even if there was no food to go with it. I knew that keeping busy was key, so I threw myself into work, tackling tasks that required focus and attention. When the hunger got distracting, I took a gentle walk outside, letting the fresh air clear my mind. Moving my body helped distract me from the emptiness in my stomach, and I reminded myself that this was as much a mental challenge as a physical one. I even found myself reading motivational quotes to stay inspired. By the afternoon, a dull headache started to creep in, a gentle but persistent reminder that my body was adjusting. I decided it was time for my first electrolyte drink, carefully mixing the powder into a glass of water. The salty, sweet taste was oddly satisfying, and almost immediately I felt a bit better. It was a huge help, and I made a mental note to stay on top of my hydration and electrolytes for the rest of the fast. The hardest part of the day, by far, was the evening. Sitting at the dinner table with my family, watching them enjoy their meal, The smell of freshly cooked food was almost overwhelming. Every bite they took seemed to echo in my mind, and I had to remind myself why I was doing this. The temptation was real, but I stayed strong, even as my stomach growled in protest. After dinner, I decided to take a warm bath to unwind. The soothing water helped relax my tense muscles and gave me a chance to reflect on the day. I felt a bit grumpy and irritable, but I kept reminding myself of my goal and the reasons I started this journey. Soft music and the gentle flicker of candlelight made it easier to let go of the day's frustrations. Going to bed hungry was a strange experience. My stomach felt empty, but my mind was surprisingly calm. I took a few minutes to jot down my thoughts in a journal, reflecting on the challenges and small victories of the day. To my surprise, I actually slept well, as if my body was grateful for the rest and reset. Looking back, I realized that the biggest challenge wasn't the physical hunger. It was breaking the habit of eating at certain times. My mind kept telling me it was time to eat, even when my body was managing just fine. Resisting those automatic urges took real effort and mindfulness. Every time I thought about food, I had to consciously remind myself of my commitment. It was a constant mental tug-of-war, but each time I chose to stick to my goal, I felt a little stronger and more determined. Day one was a true mental battle, testing my willpower and patience. But as I reflected at the end of the day, I realized I had made it through. I felt a wave of relief and a quiet sense of accomplishment. One day down, 2 more to go. Seeing that first day marked off on the calendar gave me a boost of confidence. The finish line felt a little closer, and I knew I could keep going. I felt genuinely proud of myself for sticking with it, even when it got tough. That sense of pride was its own reward, fueling my motivation for the days ahead. The journey was just beginning, and with one day behind me, I was ready to face whatever came next. Day 2 was rough. I woke up with a headache, heavy body, and zero energy. This is the hardest day of a long fast. My body was switching from burning glucose to fat. Hunger was gone, but I felt low and lethargic with serious brain fog. I canceled work, rested, and drank electrolytes to help with the headache. Reading was tough. My mind felt slow. In the afternoon, I forced myself out for a slow walk. The fresh air helped and my headache lifted. It felt like my body finally switched to running on ketones. I wasn't hungry, just calm and detached from food. The evening was easier and I slept deeply. Day 2 was a grind, but getting through it felt like a huge win. I learned that the hardest part passes if you stick with it. I was hopeful for day 3. The mountain was climbed, the view was coming. Day 3 was a revelation. I woke up before my alarm, clear-headed and focused. The brain fog was gone, replaced by a calm, steady energy. I wasn't hungry at all, just light and mentally sharp. I powered through work, more productive than usual, and went for a long walk, feeling connected and peaceful. My body felt flexible, my mind uncluttered. The day flew by with steady energy and a positive mood. By now, my body was fully running on ketones. I even did some gentle yoga and stretching. The final hours weren't a struggle, they were enjoyable. I felt a huge sense of accomplishment. I'd pushed through the tough parts and come out stronger. I was actually a bit sad it was ending, but excited for my first meal. The reward was in sight. Finishing the 72 hours felt amazing, but breaking the fast was crucial. After 3 days, your digestive system needs a gentle wake-up. I started with a cup of bone broth, gentle, nourishing, and delicious after so long without flavor. An hour later, I had steamed veggies, eating slowly and mindfully. Later, a handful of almonds for healthy fats. I kept it simple and easy to digest, drinking plenty of water. The next day, I gradually reintroduced foods, eggs, avocado, salmon, salad. I avoided heavy carbs and processed foods for the first couple of days. Taking it slow made the whole experience feel complete. Breaking the fast right was the final, crucial step. The biggest benefit was mental clarity. My mind felt sharper and more creative for days after. I became more mindful about eating, recognizing true hunger versus habit. My appreciation for simple whole foods skyrocketed. Physically, I felt lighter, less bloated, and had steady energy. I lost a few pounds, mostly water weight, but felt leaner and more energetic. My digestive system felt rested and calm. The sense of accomplishment was huge. Pushing through tough moments built real confidence. I learned I'm capable of hard things. The benefits went far beyond just not eating. It was a true reset for body and mind. It wasn't all smooth sailing. Day 2 was the toughest. Headache, fatigue, brain fog, and low energy. I seriously considered quitting at one point. The social side was hard too. Missing family meals felt isolating. Eating is such a big part of connection, and sitting out was tough. Day 1's hunger was more psychological than physical, a battle with routine. It took constant mental effort to override old habits. My energy was low, so I couldn't be as active with my family. You have to accept a slower pace for a couple of days. It's challenging, but part of the process. Being honest about the hard parts is important. So would I do it again? Absolutely. The mental clarity and food reset were worth the tough moments, but I wouldn't do it often, maybe once or twice a year as a reset. It's intense and your body needs time to recover. Preparation was key, cleaning up my diet, planning electrolytes, and clearing my schedule. Next time I'd mentally brace even more for day 2. This challenge pushed me out of my comfort zone and gave me a new perspective on health and willpower. It's all about balance, listening to your body, whether you're fasting or feasting. I feel stronger and more in tune with myself. It was tough, but I'm proud I did it. If you're curious about fasting, here's my advice. First, talk to your doctor. Make sure it's safe for you. Prepare. Clean up your diet, cut sugar, focus on whole foods. Get your electrolytes sorted. They're a game changer. Be kind to yourself. Clear your diary, rest, and listen to your body. If you feel unwell, it's okay to stop. Plan your refeeding as carefully as the fast. Start with something light and easy to digest. Take it slow and savor every bite. That's my journey. An eye-opening experience I'm glad to share. Now I want to hear from you. Have you tried fasting? What was your experience? Share your stories and tips in the comments. Thanks for watching, legends. See you soon.